What's up, y'all? As you can see, I'm back in university and hopefully I can keep up my regular video making schedule. But for now, what am I going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to talk about something interesting. The man's role within the feminist view. So this seems a little general, but I'm going to try and break it down into the specifics now. So what I'm going to address and refute is the traditional role of the male in the feminist viewpoint, why I think that men do not have as much power as feminists think we do, and overall what I think about men who choose to join feminism. So what is the role of men within the feminist viewpoint? Well, we are pretty much the oppressors. We hold all the power. We, who are primarily white, old, stingy men, control the country, the politics, the education, the law, everything except for the parts where we delegate these jobs to women, i.e. how we delegate women to family life, or how women are more prevalent in certain areas because that's the will of the patriarchy. And to any objective viewer, I think this will sound immediately suspicious. So, women have no power, or very little power, and men have the most power within society. Is that what we really see in reality? And you know what? You can argue this until the cows come home. You can just scream and shout and shove all the evidence you want in the faces of everyone who doesn't follow your particular rhetoric. But really, does it come down to showing that women are more oppressed than men? Does it show that we are out to get women and they have no political power or influence whatsoever to change that? I don't think so. I swear, you can do a very simple experiment to determine whether or not the whole world is out to get women. Go into any part of downtown Toronto, go into Washington, go down to the States, go down anywhere and ask 30 random guys whether or not they think that men should have more rights than women. And I'm guessing that the very large, overwhelming majority of men in this instance will say no, men should not have more rights and privileges than women do. So most men in first world countries would not be willing to oppress women so that they can gain further power. I could easily end the video here, but of course that's not enough. It's not enough for the feminist, because then feminists will argue that, well, men may not knowingly oppress women, but they continue to use certain things or do certain things or say certain things which constitutes to the oppression of women today. To me, it's kind of perplexing as to how I would be able to oppress women without somehow knowing it. Let's say I made a rape joke, okay? So I made a rape joke in front of an audience, and those jokes are generally told because of shock value. And if someone found that funny, then would they be labeled a misogynist? Well, they have to be. That's what the feminist worldview dictates, that they must be misogynistic, and that this sort of crude humor is a sign of the patriarchy because we're having a laugh at the woman's expense because of a woman's suffering. Well, that would be the feminist viewpoint. But what actually happens in reality? Let's spin this around and let's just say this was racial-related humor. It's like racist jokes. Russell Peters makes a lot of racial-related humor. And he makes a lot of stereotypes, he adds to these stereotypes, he makes fun of them, and, generally speaking, people have a good laugh at that. Would this be because everyone is clearly a racist? Would anyone really be dumb enough to take Russell Peters' sort of comedic skits seriously? Of course not. No one would be that dumb, because we all know that he's making fun of these stereotypes. These are so blown out of proportion that they're funny. But that doesn't mean that we're racist. It doesn't mean that we find racism funny. That's just because way back when, we were not allowed to laugh at these things. These things would have been taken seriously. And now we understand the patented ridiculousness of these. It's the same thing with rape jokes. I don't find rape funny. I don't think of laughing when I see a woman who is bawling her eyes out because she got violated by someone at a party. I don't think that's funny. But you know what? I would find it perfectly understandable if Daniel Tosh at his show decided to make a rape joke and everyone got a dark kind of chuckle out of it. I am honestly willing to bet that most feminists would not say that Russell Peters' racial-based humor means that he is racist and that anyone who laughs at his jokes are racist. I'm willing to bet they won't say that. But why would they say that someone like Daniel Tosh, who did make a rape joke, is somehow misogynistic, and anyone who laughs at his jokes are also misogynistic? The only reason why they have this double standard, this internalized double standard within their logic, is because of the feminist worldview. No matter what, women have to be the oppressed, men have to be the oppressors. That's the way it always goes, no matter how illogical or how distant from reality it really seems. And if feminists still insist that I am doing wrong by laughing at a rape joke because it stereotypes women in one way and it makes fun of them, well, then feminists have to also concede that their whole entire worldview is based upon stereotyping men and women to suit their own agenda. The second problem I have with this idea of us men being portrayed as oppressors in North America is that why would we knowingly hinder ourselves in so many areas of life if we really had all of the power? Consider how unfair the courts are when it comes to criminal sentencing. Consider how unfair it is when it comes to child custody. Consider how men and men's issues really don't have a place in the political stage. Why would we willingly do that to ourselves if we men had all the power, we had all of the influence in society, and we knew it? Why would we want to do that to ourselves? And that actually segues kind of nicely into men being feminists. Why are there so many men that are feminists? And what do I think of men that are feminists? Why are so many men feminists? Well, I think it's because that's just the easiest thing to do in this society. It's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest thing to follow. It's the most politically correct. And if you even dare to speak a word of opposition, people will just sick women's rights groups on your doorstep to harass you 24/7. I'm not saying that men can't be feminists of their own volition, and I'm not saying that they necessarily want to follow the status quo, and that's the reason why they're feminists. What I am saying is that if I, as a man, have a job in like the government sector, and these videos were to be made public, I could lose my job. In fact, it'd be very likely if I did lose my job, because feminists everywhere would be so offended and so riled up that I stuck one toe out of line from what they want to hear, that they will sick feminist movement and like all these women's rights groups onto where I work, and they would probably have me fired just from the sheer political pressure of these women's rights groups. And let's face it, the same can't be said for men's rights groups. May the truth always be heard.